I used to play high school varsity soccer, and something funny that would happen at a game whenever my soccer team was losing by nearly 5 points, in the final 5 minutes of the game, my coach would pull off all the good players and put all the terrible players on. Meaning that at the end of every single game where we lost, I got 5 minutes of playing time. This is a strategy known as giving up, where you take off all your good options and put on bad ones. And politicians do this too. When they believe that their political chances are doomed, they quit. They stop even trying to put up a good face and put out all their worst policies and say the most outrageous things. Is this happening for Donald Trump? Today's question is Trump giving up hope for the midterm elections? To answer this question, we'll look at two different points. We'll start with the background and look at the upcoming midterms, and then second we'll move on to the polling of the midterm elections. Every 2 years, America holds the midterm elections. These midterm elections sometimes coincide with the presidency, but because they're every 2 years, they sometimes occur in between presidencies. Article 1 of the Constitution mandates that the U.S. House of Representatives be entirely re-elected every 2 years, and Article 1 also mandates that the Senate be elected every 6 years. However, these senators are split up into three separate groups, so 33 of them are elected every 2 years, and they keep rotating out. So a full third of the Senate is also up for election every 2 years. With stakes like these, parties can lose or win a lot in the midterms. The Hill reports on December 13, 2025, that in nearly every single midterm, at least in recent history, that being 2014, 2018, and 2022, whichever party won the presidency for the previous year, the previous election, tends to do poorly in the midterm elections following. In 2014, where Barack Obama had won the White House just 2 years before, Republicans had a resounding victory in the House and Senate. Similarly, in 2018, after Trump had won the presidential election, Democrats took over the House of Representatives by a large margin. And finally, in 2022, Republicans retook the House of Representatives from the Democrats after Joe Biden won the presidency just 2 years prior. So as we're seeing from this article in The Hill, there's a consistent pattern where the party in power tends to do poorly in the midterm elections. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, who was a Republican speaker, said that he believes the Republican Party is in, quote, real trouble, unquote, in facing these midterm elections. Mark Short, the former aide to Vice President Mike Pence, said that he believes this midterm election is a, quote, really steep climb, unquote, for the Republican Party. Both of these Republican insiders see difficulties for the party in maintaining control of the House and the Senate in this upcoming midterm election. So, what is Trump thinking? Reuters on January 5, 2026 reported that Trump says, quote, I don't understand what's going on with the mind of the public, unquote. But Trump did have one clear proposal. Quote, you gotta win the midterms, unquote. He reportedly told House and members of the House of Representatives and senators. Trump wants to win the midterms. But is he doing things that will actually lead him to win the midterms? Will he win the midterms? Let's dive into the polling to actually see what will happen. The basic statistics on this look very bad for Donald Trump. Donald Trump currently has a 38% approval rating, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll on January 27, 2026. 38% approval means far less than half of Americans approve of Donald Trump's performance in office, and likely that will affect their approval rating of Republican lawmakers in the House and Senate. This does bear out in the polling. Real Clear Polling reports on February 5, 2026, that 48% of Americans plan to vote for Democrats in the 2026 midterms, where only 43% plan to vote for Republicans in the midterms. This means a significant percentage more Americans, 5%, want to vote for Democrats. But there's an extremely interesting statistic here that Trump should keep in mind if he does wish to win the midterms. So again, that was 48% want to vote Democrat, 43% want to vote Republican. But the parties have very interesting approval ratings. While 48% want to vote Democrat, only 35% approve of the Democrat Party. That's a 13-point drop. And for Republicans, 43% want to vote for them, and 41% of Americans approve of Republicans. This means that the Americans who plan to vote for Republicans very largely approve of them, whereas Americans who plan to vote for Democrats don't necessarily approve them, they just want the country to go a different direction than it currently is. This could be an extremely beneficial opening for Donald Trump. If he manages to switch his policies to more favorable ones, there are many, many Americans he could win back over. Those Americans who don't approve of the Republican Party, but really don't approve of the Democrat Party either. Unfortunately, some of the recent policies Donald Trump has proposed have become extremely unpopular. As Nate Silver points out in an article, pollster Nate Silver points out in an article he wrote on February 11, 2026, Donald Trump currently has a 42% approval rating on immigration and 39% on trade, largely due to his implementation of tariffs and crackdown using ICE in many liberal cities in the United States. Unpopular policies like these are likely costing him voters that would likely otherwise vote for him, for Trump and the Republican Party. So, Donald Trump does not need to give up hope. There is hope for the Republican Party if they truly want to win the midterms. Unlike my soccer coach, they shouldn't put out all their worst policies and give up. Instead, they should ditch their worst policies, keep their best players on the field, and try their best. And if they do that, they have a solid chance at maintaining the majority this midterm election.